Now, if you didn't know, for many years one of my goals now has to be collect every MCU-based LEGO Marvel figure. But in realising how lackluster some of them are, in the last year I've gotten really into customs. No, I'm not talking those $3 knockoffs that you see on AliExpress, I'm talking high detail and meticulously crafted customs. I've already talked about a few of these on the channel before, but in my recent videos where I built this giant 15,000 piece Statue of Liberty build, I opted to use custom figures instead of the officially licensed ones. And in this video, I want to go through them and I want to explain why. I'll try and talk about every single figure I used on the model, but if I talk about a minifigure I've already talked about in the past, I may not go as in detail. And just so you guys know where I got these minifigures from, I'll stick the company that made them in the upper left corner. Starting with the Spider-Man, I want to start with Tom Holland. Now this minifigure is actually the same as a normal regular minifig, except has a few custom pad printed elements that I believe make the figure look really good. This includes a new set of arm prints, hand prints, and a new head print. One thing I don't like about the official Tom Holland minifigures are the eye prints. LEGO have done two different versions of this now, and I do prefer the second one, but Phoenix Customs redoing the eyes like this, just if you ask me, look more accurate to the thing we see in the film. It's a stylistic change which I prefer over the original print. And speaking of a stylistic change, LEGO got rid of the arm prints on Spider-Man suits for some reason, and I think all three Spider-Men suffer because of this. So giving the Spider-Man arm prints was definitely something I wanted, and using these arms give that arm printing back to the integrated suit that I think it deserves. But let's talk about the elephant in the room, those web shooters. One thing that Customs have been doing recently is adding more physical elements to the minifigure to make them slightly more detailed. I personally like this look, but can completely understand if someone doesn't. And as I'm one of those people who are a fan of this look, you'll see this on other minifigures on this list. But moving on to the next Spider-Man, let's talk about Andrew Garfield. Now this is a mix of a custom figure and a purist figure, mainly because I love this minifigure from Jack-a-Brick. I think the Spider-Man suit does a wonderful job at representing what the suit looked like in Amazing Spider-Man 2. But the one thing I didn't like so much was the face print used, as Andrew in No Way Home is a bit older, and I think this hairpiece and face print from the Queer Eye set does a better job at looking like the actor. The minifigure in the official set does a damn good job at giving us the Amazing Spider-Man 2 suit, considering the only other one available is roughly $18,000, but the minifigure not having arm and leg printing really solidified the choice of going with a custom option. Moving on to Toby, I couldn't really find a custom figure that I wanted to use, and if I'm honest, aside from the no arm and leg printing, the official 2023 version from LEGO is a fantastic looking minifigure. I did try and find some options I could use for arm and leg printing, but the shiny webbing on the suit made that super difficult. I did end up using a Firestar head for the face print, as I couldn't really find an official LEGO face print that looked old enough. The Marty McFly face print is good for a young Tobey Maguire, but as I'm going with custom options anyway, this one is fine to use. As for Ned and MJ, I was very disappointed on what LEGO chose to do for them in the official set. Reusing pieces from City and Harry Potter just isn't going to give you the right look for these characters. They wear some very specific outfits in this film, and it would have been nice to get them accurately depicted, as Spider-Man's friends never really seem to get that love from LEGO, and this would have been the perfect place to do that. And honestly, that seems to have happened with a lot of minifigures in this set, but more on that later. For the MJ that I've used mostly Firestar pieces, which aren't pad printed, they're UV, but certainly do a better job at making this minifigure look like Zendaya's character. The jumper and the details are the correct colours, even down to the necklace, and honestly, I don't think this minifigure would have been that difficult to give us in the official set. I understand why LEGO have to reuse prints, but there's no reason they could have made this jumper as a new print and then reused it on City pieces, giving MJ a dedicated torso print, and then LEGO can use that same print for generic torso prints. And if you're wondering about my custom cube, I talk about that a lot more in depth on my breakdown video, so it's worth watching that if you haven't seen it already. But as for Ned, this minifigure just doesn't look anything like him. Again, it's a classic case of LEGO reusing pieces from Harry Potter and City to technically give us a brand new minifigure, but it's just lackluster and it's not accurate in any way. Annoyingly, they have had a Ned Leeds face print in the past, which I think works perfectly on a minifigure like this, and once again Firestar has made a fantastic torso print for us to use. There is a somewhat decent LEGO version of this, which makes me wonder again why LEGO just didn't use that one and add it back to the production line, but this custom version is once again way better than the LEGO version, and although it's built of a mishmash full of pieces, I think it does a good job in representing Ned Leeds from No Way Home. Now let's talk Doctor Strange. I love this figure. Now it's not too different from the official LEGO one, and comparing it to the one officially given to us by LEGO, you can see that it's the wrong suit. LEGO gave us the Multiverse of Madness Doctor Strange in the set as opposed to the No Way Home version, but breaking that other one out of my collection, you can see that there's not massive differences between the two. However, I will say the additions given to the custom one are certainly nice, like the arm printing, and the custom hairpiece is certainly a nice touch. But the new molds on this figure is really where the figure shines. The new cape certainly is a better fit than the official LEGO one, and the Eye of Agamotto just clips magnetically underneath the cape, making it really nice looking. This figure combined with the Firestar spell discs really completes the look, and I think this figure does a wonderful job stood on the top of the torch. Now let's talk about one which I'm really excited about. Due to the expansion set coming out for the Statue of Liberty, we finally got a Sandman and a Lizard minifigure. And I bet people are curious to know my opinion, considering I didn't think LEGO were going to do a good enough job. Well, I have to say that I'm pleasantly surprised. I never expected a big fig from LEGO. Even though Lizard is way bigger than a regular minifig, I always assumed that they were going to use a regular minifigure. It's funny, when I saw the set pictures leaks, I saw so many people saying they thought that the Lizard was taller than a regular minifig, when in reality it's just the same as a normal one. I do like the decision to make him olive green, even though in the film he is a brighter shade, and although I do think he needed a custom molded head, I don't think this minifigure looks bad in any way. But rolling in the figure that I used, I can 100% see why people say that this one's a bit bright, and annoyingly it seems that a mix between the two would definitely be the more accurate colour. Either way, I think both options are really good here. I really do think the 3D elements on this minifigure take it to that next level, giving the regular minifig that height that it desperately needs. But credit where it's due, LEGO, you didn't do a bad job on this one. On the other hand, let's talk about Sandman. It's like I said in my breakdown, more oversized figures are leaning more towards the buildable action figure line, and I'm not a huge fan of the buildable action figures and the way they look. I much prefer it when LEGO decide to build an oversized minifigure. Take a look at examples from the airport battle in 2016 and the Harry Potter Gwarp set. So you can imagine I'm not a huge fan of this expansion set. Yeah, it's nice to get a Sandman depiction in LEGO, as we never actually had a Sandman from Spider-Man 3, but it would have been really cool to get a Sandman minifigure that you put inside of the buildable one, almost like a mech. Marvel have been obsessed with mechs lately, so it wouldn't have been bad to include this as a play feature, and gives you another minifig in an arguably expensive for what it is set. But enough about the set itself, what about this comparatively to my Sandman? Now obviously I went with the buildable minifig look, and I must say I prefer this massively over the buildable action figure look, and funnily this is exactly the same technique that LEGO have already used in one of their sets with the buildable Harry Potter line. Unfortunately, I've not been able to print the face like LEGO probably would. I've had to use a custom sticker sheet. I think it just makes sense to think if a minifigure like this was to get bigger, it would look like this as opposed to this. I know if LEGO had done something like this, it wouldn't really count as an expansion as it'd be too big, but they've done minifig builds around this size before, and I think it would have fit better with the minifigures that were already included in this set. I know the Harry Potter buildable characters haven't sold particularly well, but I think that's more due to the fact that they decided to debut these giant buildable characters with the Harry Potter theme, and the fact that you get two of them, which made this set super expensive. But overall, I think the design is really good, and I think they've actually started using this design in other sets, so I think if the Marvel theme were to also adopt this template, we could get some really cool looking minifigures like Giant Man, Cassie Lang, and of course a buildable Sandman. As for Electro, I really liked the torso print that they gave him for the official figure. Although I did like the head as well, I really wish we got a normal face print of him, not just the electrified face. Most of the time in the film, he's not got this electrified pattern on his face. It's only when he's using his electrical powers that becomes the case. And due to this fact, I opted to change the face print. Not only because I believe this one to look like Jamie Foxx a bit more, but it also meant I didn't have the electrical pattern all over his face. I did opt to use the Firestar arm and leg prints that they made for him, as well I don't think the leg prints are relatively good on the official figure, and he really did need arm printing. But overall, I think this minifigure turned out great. I think it's a decent and it's a cheap upgrade. But speaking of two minifigures that weren't exactly on the cheap side, we have Doc Ock and Goblin, and honestly, I don't have much to say about them. I've already made two decent videos discussing them at length and comparing them to the original LEGO ones. So how about this? I'll stick both of those videos on screen and you can choose which one you want to see first.